trying to do a YouTube thing with it.
Okay.
I'm here today at Treasure Coast Comic Con with one of my favorite um, authors now, Keith Rommel, who also is about to make a movie off of which movie again?
Hearst Man.
And that's the behind him right there. That's going to be a movie that's coming out next month, correct?
That is coming out Halloween night this year.
What's one of your favorite books that you written so far?
Probably The Lurking Man, because it's a story based off of my mother's childhood, and I make my mother a little boy to kind of conceal things, and her parents, my grandparents, I combine it to one person, that being a woman, and it just deals with a lot of the things that my mother went through as a child. She didn't have a pleasant childhood, and it's really a story about a victory over abuse and addiction. So it's a great story.
Now, I know I've asked you many times about the infamous Deviltry background. I don't know if anyone's ever interviewed like this.
Uh-huh.
What is the Deviltry about?
The Deviltry is about the serial killer that was running around in the early 70s. His name was Gerard John Schaefer. And he would take people to the tree, hang them from the tree, torture them, torment them, dismember them, bury them, come back, exhume them, have sex with them. He was a demented man.
And I read in the story that he was a cop and all that, but it was interesting how he actually lured them, which the whole story with Ted Bundy, which you were saying, what if he was based off a serial killer, who would it be, like, mind-wise and deceiveness?
Ooh,
He's very deceiving.
Well, he actually, there's an FBI profiler that actually called him one of the worst serial killers that ever walked the face of this earth. And they said that every single thing that you could have wrong with you as far as a serial killer, the mental evaluation goes, he had wrong with him. And yet, even though he failed the psychological tests of a police officer, they still gave him a gun to the badge. And not only that, a lot of people, like if I dig further back into his history, he was a school teacher, so he had access to children.
Oh, okay.
He got fired from teaching in school because he was trying to push his personal beliefs and his very bizarre traits. As a young man, he was dating a girl, and they would act out rape scenes together, and that's
more like snuff kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that was their true relationship. So it started for him at a very young age. That was at around 14 years old to 17. He dated this girl,
right?
And then he somehow got this weird fascination, which I can't make the connection of where it was, but at the age of around 17, he started tying himself to trees. So somehow, some way, trees became a personal obsession with him.
You could have been one of those hippies.
Yeah.
Between, like, because we talked about how Satanists would threaten you and all that, has there anything like law enforcement or anybody else besides that actually coming up to you or threatened you, or is it just mostly those?
It's really honestly, it's the people that, I don't want to sound condescending, but it's the people that don't have the backbone. Usually the police officers and stuff that come to me, they come to me in private, and they talk to me about it, and they talk to me about their personal experiences a lot. So, and again, they don't like to do it in a public forum because they're, they have certain training and a certain about themselves that they're supposed to keep, and I don't think that they want to lose that. So, like I said, I believe I was talking to you about it either yesterday or something. They'll come to me, but if nobody's around, they'll come to me and talk to me. If somebody comes, they'll kind of button up and walk away, and that's not them judging me or anything.
Yeah.
That's them telling me about the tree, about their experiences, and that is actually how I have been able to expand on the legend from learning from these men and women that come to me. Of course, regular civilian close people too, and I'm able to look further and further into the tree by doing that. So.
And the funny thing is, I actually would try to find interviews. It's one of those cases where there is a documentation, but there's another one with a little bit more. Now, because it was weird, because I was trying to find out for a whole month, but it always kept coming down to the same thing in the end, of the same information. Is it a low underrated type of murder case? Because you talked about the Gainesville Ripper, which is pretty infamous and it's
Yes.
more popular than this. What is so different between that one versus this one?
Well,
if you had to just guess.
My reasoning that I believe that the Deviltry and the Schaefer cases itself are a little bit more obscure than your regular serial killers is because the man wore a uniform, and I think that that had something to do with it, and it almost kind of puts a blemish on the town, if that makes sense. So I think that there was more cover-ups, and that's why, to me, this is how legends become what they are, is because to me, legends are basically, it's like that, the telephone. You know what I'm saying? What I tell you and what that person tells and so on and so forth, and as it goes, it changes as it goes around the room. So I've heard variations, but I've looked for a common thread, and that's the common thread is what I really kind of hooked myself to, and then hooked, of course, the book and my investigations into, which would be the more, traditional stories and stuff like that I was hearing.
And how? Because I know you have a movie coming out. It's which one again? The Cursed Man.
Cursed Man's coming out this year. Is a major motion picture in California.
I look forward to seeing that. Will there be DVDs and all that?
Oh yeah, yep. They're
Alright.
already starting to press DVDs.
What were you doing? Writing? How long did it take you to actually get to the point in your career of writing?
It took me to get to a professional level about 15 years of writing. And then
You say that's pretty short in certain terms, right?
it's certain some terms, yeah.
If you had to describe big Stephen King or J.K. Rowling, who do you think that you would have surpassed more as in becoming where you're at today? You gave it an example, or
I would have to say that my style is most compared, even through all reviews and stuff, to Stephen King, which he's a big influence of mine, Anne Rice, Irish Joe Hansen, so on and so forth. So there's a lot, and there's even authors out there independent authors like Hunter Shea. That's a big influence to me. I really love his work. So.
And you said you're making the Deviltry 3, and that was that's what I was actually okay. What is that book going to be about?
Deviltry 3 is actually it's a story about that there's not one Deviltry in Port Saint Lucie, and I'm going to leave it at that because it's actually very interesting what one of the Satanists told me. So it's very, very interesting, and it's going to bend people's mind like crazy.
And the first one's more about the story, as well as the second one's more of the experiences.
The second one is more, yes, the first one's more meat and potatoes of the tree. The second one it does deal with the legend in the tree, but it also deals with, there's ruins or building husks around the tree. And I found out the actual origin of where these buildings came from, what purpose they served, and that's what that deals with. And then book 3 is going to go into that there is a conspiracy that there's not one Deviltry.
There's actually 2 more questions I have after.
Okay.
So, you said you do a first perspective and a third perspective. Is that also in the Deviltry? Because I don't know if I was seeing a first and third.
Third.
Okay, it's third.
Yes.
And
Third.
I forgot the last one. It's really quick. If you had to give tips for someone that wanted to make books, what would be a good tip or anything to follow so that they want to make it in the business?
Consistency. Get yourself out there and don't be worried about somebody stealing your work, because you need to go into the critiquecircle.com and you go underneath an alias and people will help you. There's a lot of professional writers on there and they will help you get to the next level. So use the Critique Circle. That's what I use.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will tag the